How's it going, guys? This week I'm making an updated version of my lumber rack that I made a couple years back. This time around I have a few design changes that I think make it look a little bit nicer than before. So if you guys want to see how this is made, stay tuned and I'll be glad to show you. For this project, the amount of wood you'll need to make it really depends on how many racks you're going to be making. I'm not going to be making that many, so I don't really need that much wood. I think I have plenty of 2x4s here. These are just some scrap 2x4s that I'm reusing from my BMX ramps. I went ahead and took those ramps apart because I no longer used them, and since winter was rolling around the corner, I would have had to store them away somehow, and they just took up too much space, so it was just easier for me to take them apart. They're still in really good condition, and that's why I'm going to be reusing them. Right here I have a piece of 2 foot by 4 foot 3/4 inch thick plywood, and I may need another sheet of this, but if I need that, then I can go ahead and pick some up later in the build. But right here I think I have enough to make the amount of racks I'm going to need. So let's go ahead, head over to my table saw, and I'll start working on these cuts. So before I get started cutting stuff at the table saw, I just kind of want to explain to you what I'm going to be creating here. Basically, I would call this whole thing one rack, and then I'd call these individual stations or pieces a shelf. So I'm going to be making a total of 3 shelves, which is going to make 1 rack for me. Now, since I only use about 1 rack, that's going to be plenty for me. But if you want to make more, then you just add the more wood that you'll need and then make more individual shelves, and then so on and so forth. You guys get the idea. I don't really use this top one since it's so high. It's kind of like long-term storage for other parts. So I want to get rid of that, and I'm just going to be cutting it down to 1 rack. And since these were made just out of some old scrap wood, they kind of look ratty. They're made on a budget, so I'm really trying to revamp these and the way they look. So I'm gonna go ahead, head over to my table saw, make 3 individual shelves for a total of 1 rack. So let's go ahead and cut these out. Now that my plywood's cut into 13-inch strips, they're still 24 inches long. What I did from here was measured over 15 inches on both sides, and then I went ahead and went 1.5 inches down, 1.5 inches down, and then 1.5 inches over and 1.5 inches over. Once I connected these dots, they gave me this nice area here, and this is going to be the side profile of my shelf. So this is going to be enough for 1 individual shelf. So each sheet of plywood that I have here is going to be 1 individual shelf. Therefore, I have 3 total, so I'll have a total of 3 individual shelves, and that's gonna give me enough for 1 rack. Now what I can do is go ahead, head over to my jigsaw or bandsaw, and cut these out. So now that I have all my pieces cut out, I went ahead and sanded all of them to a nice smooth finish. From here, I'm gonna take my 11.5 inch pieces and drill the holes in them for when they mount to the wall. I'm doing this before I assemble them just because it will be easier to get the holes drilled out now rather than when it's fully assembled. ahead and drilled 2 outer holes first, countersunk them, and then I went ahead and put the screws in. That's gonna hold it in place. Now I can go back, drill out the countersinks for these, and then I can apply the screws now. Now I have the 15-inch 2x4 locked in by 5 screws on each side. What I need to do now is go ahead and do this back piece. You want to make sure that on the facing outside where it's going to be going into the wall, you have the area where there's no countersinks. You want the countersinks on the inside here. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and screw this back piece on. On the pieces where the 2 2x4s connect, I'm gonna go ahead and use some 3-inch screws so I can get a much better hold. So I just got the top 2 screws in. Now what I want to go ahead and do is finish the ones that are going to be against the wall, and then I'll do it on the other side as well. Then I'll have one shelf done. So I have all 3 of my shelves assembled. Now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and take these down. I'm gonna take the top 3 down, but instead of taking the bottom 3 down right away, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use those to guide where I'm putting my next ones. So I'm just gonna set them on top of those because I want these shelves to be up a little bit higher, but I want them in the same spot. So I'm just gonna set them on top and I'll screw them in that way, and I'll already know where the studs are anyway. However, if you don't know where the studs are, you can use a stud finder, or you can also just use an ordinary magnet and just find a nail on the wall. You'll eventually find the nails in the studs. So there's a few ways to get them, but let's go ahead, take these old ones down and put these new ones up. Now that I got my lumber rack mounted up on the wall, I went ahead and added all the wood to it as well. I think it came out really nice all in all, and as you can tell, I don't have a whole lot of lumber, which is why I downgraded from 2 lumber racks to 1. All in all, I gotta say, I like this new design better, and I really like it a lot more than my old one because this one has a lot nicer look to it compared to the old nasty scrap wood that I used on my last ones. Now, there was nothing wrong with my old ones, it was just they looked old and dirty and kind of worn out. So I wanted to freshen it up a little bit. I added these. I still need to go back, fill in the holes, and take some of the old pencil marks off the wall, but once I get that done, I'm gonna be really pleased with this area of the shop. I do have a few more shop projects that I am gonna be doing in the future. Hopefully I'm gonna get some dust collection going in here. I wanna do a video on that. That'll probably be next year though. and then maybe a few new workbenches or stuff like that. So I'm gonna have some more shop projects coming up probably in January. But other than that, hopefully you guys liked this video, and if you did, remember, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new to my channel. I try posting new woodworking videos almost every Tuesday. So until next week, I'll see you guys then.